everyone. Welcome to eCoffee with Experts. My name is Matt Fraser, the Chief Strategy Officer with Digital Web Solutions. And today on this episode, I'd like to introduce you to our special guest, David Fischer. David is the founder of Solutions for Growth, a full-service digital marketing agency focusing on helping small businesses increase sales and grow. He brings over 30 years of marketing experience across a range of industries. His corporate experience has allowed him to identify the marketing techniques that can be successfully applied to small businesses. By focusing only on small businesses, David understands their unique needs and provides realistic advice and effective marketing tools for them to achieve higher sales. David, thank you so much for coming on eCoffee with Experts.
Thanks for being here. Really appreciate being on this great program, Matt.
All right on. So David, tell me a little bit about yourself. For instance, where did you grow up?
So I was born and lived the first 20 years of my life in Milan, Italy.
Oh, wow.
My parents are American. They were there for work, and what was supposed to be for a couple of years ended up being a long time. So technically, I went through the Italian school system, and then after I came to college here, and then ended up working for Italian companies in the United States. They needed someone who was bilingual, who knew business, and that's how I stayed here, and still here. Very happy to be here.
All right, on. That's very interesting that you grew up in Italy with that kind of experience. That's just awesome.
Yep, quite different.
So how did you get started in digital marketing?
So about 35 years ago, I worked at a company at the time called Trilegion, changed its name to Sendit. It's the country's largest direct marketer of private label membership programs. It's a mouthful, but bottom line is that we marketed membership programs with all different types of institutions, whether it was banks or retailers, from Microsoft to Firestone to Chase, the airlines. And we did an enormous amount of marketing. At the time, still a lot of direct mail, to the tune of about 700 million pieces a year. But we also started dipping our toes into digital marketing. And it was a great place to get exposed to it and learn from it. And then following that with other companies, always in a marketing role, we always dealt with the online world. And that's how I started getting into digital marketing. Eventually, to 12 years ago, when Solutions for Growth was founded, 80-90% of our work is on the digital world. And that is based on the experience that myself and our team bring to the table going back a long time already.
All right, on. So what do you like most about digital marketing?
That two main things. One is that you can pivot immediately. So for example, in direct mail, once you print and mail, you're stuck. So that's the program that's running, and you keep your fingers crossed and hopefully it'll work. And the second reason I love digital marketing is that it's so eminently measurable. There's so many aspects of it that you can measure all the time, even as it's progressing live. And as needed, you can pivot, whether you want to just improve something or you want to maximize something that's going very well, you want to add more ad spend to it. The digital world is, you can measure so many different things. The important thing, obviously, is to know what to measure and what not to measure and may pay attention to, but that's where the beauty of this program is so effective.
Mm-hmm. Are there any specific marketing channels that you focus on?
So when Solutions for Growth was founded, the goal was to provide all of the marketing tools that our clients need to let the world know why they're great. Not the tool, but the clients. So the team that brings everything to the table has expertise on everything from SEO, search engine optimization, Google Ads, web development, web management, email marketing, and all the other components that, when put together and integrated, create a logical flow for clients to drive more business. So, for example, what do I mean by all of this? So, for example, we could have a client who is running a Google Ads or an SEO program with the goal of driving people to their website, qualified people. And when they reach the website, there might be an offer for something in return for a piece of information. So, for example, it might be either a coupon or a piece of information in return for an email address. Mm-hmm. That email address is therefore then pulled into the client's email account. And the first email goes out to the client saying, dear prospect, here is the coupon of the information you requested. And that then is followed by an email nurture series that stays in touch with the person so that they are reminded pretty consistently about this company and why their life will be better when they work with that company. The website could have an appointment scheduling tool, for example. And then on the email side, because you have the email address, there are ways to stay in touch with this prospect who hopefully will become a client to engage with them further. There are other tools that can be used on the website as well, such as live chat and so on. And other online tools can be used, such as online reviews. So there are semi-automated ways to generate online reviews. So this is just a basic example of how all of the various digital tools that we offer at Solutions for Growth benefit our clients because they help not only attract a lead to their website or their phone, but also nurtures them throughout the whole period and puts into place tools that makes it very easy for that prospect to engage with the company and really learn more about it.
Mm-hmm. So that being said, then why should businesses focus on email marketing or have an email marketing component to their strategies, to their campaigns?
So although we offer all the various tools that I mentioned earlier to our clients, we do have a big part of our business focused on email marketing. And the reason why that is so, and this is not to minimize the other tools, they all work together. But on the email marketing side, we find that it's a tool that benefits any small company, any small business, because first of all, it's easy to understand. It is not a big investment. And it's a smart way to stay in touch with leads, customers, prospects, vendors, the community, simply because it's push marketing and you're putting information into people's inboxes with two goals of these emails. The first one is to remind the market that you exist. Because the reality is that nobody wakes up every morning thinking about your business, except for you, of course. So your job as a business owner is to remind the market that you exist. Otherwise, people will forget about you. An example of that is a few months ago, I had a plumber come to my house to fix something. I needed a plumber last week. I could not remember the name of the plumber. So I went back on Google and I looked up a plumber and I picked one whose name wasn't familiar. So if that plumber had stayed in touch with me every month, sending an email to remind me of their business and maybe with some information about the plumbing in my house or a generic article, it does two things. The first one is reminds me of the plumber's business. And second, and this is the second goal of these emails, is to remind people what your expertise is. So that when someone does have a problem and they need a plumber, guess what? I'll think of that plumber's name because every month the plumber with an email is gently knocking on my door saying, hey, I'm the plumber here. And look, I'm an expert because look at this article that I'm presenting to you so that guess who I'm going to call.
Yeah.
The same thing applies whether on e-commerce or services or products. You have to stay top of mind of your market. Otherwise, your competition will grab the market's attention and you will be forgotten. You have to stay top of mind so you're not out of mind.
Hey, that's a good one. So what are some of the ways businesses can measure the effectiveness of email marketing?
In different ways. So as an agency, we focus on the standard measures for an email program, such as an open rate, which is the percentage of people who open an email, the click rate, which is the percentage of people who click on a link in the email, typically to various pages on the client's website. The unsubscribe rate, that's an important number that we look at because it helps determine whether clients are finding value in the email that is being sent. And then there are a couple of other measures such as bounces and so on. But it's important to look at these numbers because they give you an indication of how the email is performing. This is purely from the campaign itself. But then clearly we are very eager to hear from clients about the business that's coming in. How many sales came in through this? How many inquiries? How many phone calls? Those are really the bottom line of whether the program works. And we could be doing the best email program in the world, but the bottom line, we're measured as an agency by the amount of sales that campaign or any other campaign that we run for the client generates for them. So if after a while it's not generating sales, clearly the client is not going to be pleased. So that's why when we create an email program based on our 12-year experience doing this and also on email marketing best practices, the chances are that the email programs that we create for clients are effective. And that, I think, is part of the reason why our retention rate with clients is extremely high. And people stay with us for a long time because we get results for them. And a reflection of that also is on the fact, just in our reviews, on our Google reviews. So we're in Fairfield County, Connecticut, which is next to Westchester County in New York, two big counties just north of New York City. We're the marketing agency with the most 5-star Google reviews in both counties, which is kind of an indication that I think we deliver value to our clients.
Yeah. So how do you tie the email going out with the sales? Like, how do you make that connection with that this particular email and this particular campaign generated this amount of sales with the clients?
Smart question. So on the e-commerce side, when we work with clients that have a website where you can buy products or services on the website, there is a direct correlation because we can follow through when someone opens the email, what links they clicked on, and what sales actually take place. So that's very measurable digitally. When it's something like professional services, and we do a lot of work with professional services such as attorneys, CPAs, engineers, physicians, and so on, there it's more of a information that's coming from the client in terms of what they are seeing. So when the client hears, "Oh, I saw your email and it reminded me to call you." I called you because I read your email with this article about this new law, and that prompted me to reach out to you. So that is not digitally measurable, but the client gets a pretty good sense of how these emails are working from them based also on the feedback from people that they're talking with. Okay. An interesting thing to consider also with these emails is that there are several studies that show that when you send an email to your email list, even if the person receiving the email does not open it, there is huge value in seeing your company name in the inbox and just seeing that company ABC is sending something to you. You can read something about the subject line. You don't even have to open it. Or maybe you just take a peek at it in the preview pane. But what it does, it continues planting a seed about your business in that person's head. So it's as if you're waving to them, "Hi, it's me, I'm right here." Very gently.
It's like you said, you continue to stay top of mind so you're not out of mind. So even if it's just reminding them that you're alive and that you exist. Is there any particular specific like tagging or UTM tracking that you use in the emails?
Yes, absolutely. With some clients, we do that. Absolutely. We add a UTM tag at the end of the URL, in particular links. And in Google Analytics, therefore, we can also see what traffic from the emails is driving traffic to the website.
And then tie that to some goals, I imagine, of like you mentioned booking campaigns or the e-commerce, exactly. If they're buying things or if they're booking an appointment, you can probably tie that into the back to the email that you sent using the UTM parameters.
That's right. Thanks for mentioning that, because in several, depending on the client, we also put links for the receiver of the email to schedule an appointment. It can be a phone appointment or an in-person appointment with the client. There's several digital tools that we use to make this easier so that you can schedule an appointment for them. And then there's the good old-fashioned coupon. So there are retailers that we use where there's a coupon in the email, or there's a promo code. And that's another way that the retailer can track. This month we had 35 people use promo code 123 to purchase the widget. So that's another way to track it.
That's a smart way.
Sometimes not always digitally, but again, it's a way to prove that email campaigns work.
Yeah, that's really smart. So how do you find businesses can get started with email marketing?
So the one thing you need with email marketing is an email list. It's very hard to do an email campaign without that. So one piece of advice that I would share with any business is to make sure that all the people they engage with, for those people, they have an email address. It's very easy to ask. Any business can ask for an email address and start saving these email addresses digitally. Over the years, I've come across some clients that have a drawer full of business cards, for example. Not very valuable there because those need to be, put into a spreadsheet or a document so they can be uploaded to an email system. And you have to start with them. Typically, you need at least 100 to make something, an email campaign valuable. Even though we have clients that have over 100,000 email addresses, a few thousand, a few hundred, tens of thousands. It depends on the business, but the reality is that all of those email addresses are a real asset of your business because it allows you to communicate with these people. I mean, marketing, after all, is really communications. So by having people's email addresses, it allows you to reach out to them. And as I said earlier, knock on the door and say, hey, I'm here, please remember me.
What are some of the ways that you would recommend to like brick and mortar businesses, like you mentioned retail, that have, they have people physically coming into the store? How can they collect those email addresses to grow that list?
Yep, smart question. So one of the most basic and simple tools that we advise when we work with retailers is to have a raffle box on the counter, for example, in the store with an offer in return for the email address. So it could be enter your email address to get to win a $20 coupon or free dinner for two or something of that. And it's amazing how many people will stop and take the 5 seconds that it takes to write their email address on a piece of paper. They put it in the raffle box. That's how you get an email address from someone in the store.
Okay. That's pretty smart. And then what would be the way to get those into your system?
Just manually daily, you might want, there has to be a spreadsheet. And something to consider, though, is that whenever we run an email campaign, this is done through an email service provider. So an email service provider is a company that is the engine, if you would, that allows the creation of beautiful looking emails, the management of email lists, and the tracking and reporting on them. So one of the largest ones in the business is Constant Contact. We've been working with them for 11 years, and we're one of the country's largest certified solution providers of Constant Contact. What that means is that we've passed an annual certification exam. We have a certain amount of volume of business, and we have achieved results for our clients that demonstrate our ability to drive sales for our clients. So this certification is the assurance for our clients that the work that we do for them is certified by Constant Contact, but also meets the email marketing best practices and our own experience doing this every year for 12 years to get results. So when we work with a client, we open up an account for them in Constant Contact. It's in their name. They own it. So if, for example, one day we no longer work together, they keep the account and all of the work and design and data and reports that we create for them. So it's a very transparent setup that truly benefits the client.
Oh, right on. So besides Constant Contact, are there any other email marketing tools that you would recommend?
Yes, there's some that are similar, whether it's vertical response, or MailChimp. There's a whole bunch of them. And they are quite similar. Some have some features, some don't have features. The reality, though, is that for small businesses, we have found Constant Contact to provide a terrific balance between value and features and their support. So over the years, we have looked at other vendors for this, but we didn't come across any that was particularly superior or better or different than Constant Contact. So also by focusing on our work with them, it allows our team of email marketing specialists, all of our account managers, to have a truly deep understanding of the Constant Contact system, its idiosyncrasies, and it also allows us to have a special relationship with them as a vendor that over the years has really helped us to address issues with clients or resolve issues or really, get to the top of the list of things that need to be done to ensure the client has the full value of what a Constant Contact account provides.
Right on. So besides having a raffle, are there any other means of growing a subscriber list that you've found to be effective?
Well, that was for retailers. For example, for a restaurant, it would be very easy to add, to add a card. When the bill is presented, to have a little card in there that asks people to fill out their email address in return for a free dessert, for example, next time they come. That's one way. Anytime you have a website, there are multiple ways to collect an email address. It could be through a chat tool, live chat, enter your email address to start the live chat. There could be a pop-up on the website that, again, offers something of value in return for an email address. And then there's the good old-fashioned business card. When you meet people, whether it's an event or a social setting, you collect their email address and you, if appropriate, you add them to your email list. Email lists are grown organically. It's one thing I'd like to point out is that everything we're talking about here is tied to opt-in or warm email marketing. That means you're sending emails to people who recognize your name and you have some kind of a relationship with them. When you are looking to buy or rent an email list or download a complete list from an association, that falls into cold email marketing, which is really spam. So in the past, we used to do this type of marketing through specialized, service providers with purchased lists. But over time, we realized that the results weren't there for clients because you're literally spamming. And if you receive an email from a company you've never heard of before for something you probably aren't interested in, you're not going to respond. So the reality of successful email marketing today is really based on a list that's grown organically of people who recognize your name, and that's where the results take place. It's really quality over quantity.
Yeah. So better to have a quality list of 500 than a quantity list of 5,000.
Yep, exactly. I mean, we all want a bigger list, but of those 5,000 people, 4,999 I'm likely not going to respond to whatever offer you're making.
Which kind of probably results in a lot of time wasted, I imagine.
Yes, it does take a lot of time. It's also more expensive to run a program like that. You have to purchase the list. You have to warm up a new domain and email address. There are a lot of steps that go into running a cold email campaign effectively. And as much as we'd like to offer to our clients, we feel it's not the right thing to do ethically because we know it's not going to perform. And the way we succeed as an agency is only when we have a long-term relationship with our clients. So, having the client come in, do one project, not very happy, they walk away, everybody's unhappy. It's just not good business. Yeah.
No, I understand. Yeah, totally. So how often should businesses send out email communications in your experience? We found that's the most effective.
It depends on the business. If you are something like a yoga studio where you have a weekly schedule, you probably want to send out an email once a week. But for the vast majority of businesses, a monthly cadence makes sense because it's frequent enough so that the effectiveness of the email works because people see you once a month, but you also don't want to send too often because then your unsubscribe rate may go up. So people unsubscribe from an email for one of two reasons. One is that you're sending too many emails; it's too much. And the second reason is that there's no value in the emails. So you might be a nice guy, but if the emails you're sending me look poor, don't have information that I find of value, or not educating me, I'm going to unsubscribe you. So that's where you have to be careful with the cadence. Again, here, more is not necessarily better.
Are there any strategies you found to resubscribe people who go to unsubscribe?
So when someone unsubscribes, the email service provider, whether it's Constant Contact or any of the other ones, will mark that person as unsubscribed, and you will not be able to email them again. So unless you go through the direct mail route, where you are sending an email to someone saying, hey, please resubscribe, go to this website, enter your email address. Once someone unsubscribes, the reality is that you really can't email them again.
I guess I've seen people, like, let's say you're getting emails once a week and you unsubscribe. And they say, hey, and they send you to a page that says, hey, am I emailing you too much? Sign up for my monthly newsletter instead. Have you seen things like that work? Or
yes, absolutely. That's a very good point. Yes, your email service provider can manage the cadence of your emails. So you can say, I just want one a week, one a month, whatever schedule is available to you. So that's a very good point, Matt. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess that's one way that people could reduce the amount of people unsubscribing is offer a second offer when they go to unsubscribe.
Yep.
Is that something that's easy to do with Constant Contact? Is it just redirecting them to the unsubscribe page and having that offer on there?
With Constant Contact specifically, you would have to click on a link that drives you to a pop-up box where you can make a choice. If you were to click, though, on the unsubscribe link, it's immediate. It's immediate, exactly. And in a certain sense, it's a better practice because it's the market telling you that there's no value in your emails or that you're bugging people. And if someone is telling you that, whether it's once a week or once a month, they don't want to hear from you anymore. So a better practice is just to get those people off the list, make sure that the people who remain on it are really the ones who want to hear from you and understand the value of what you're communicating to them. And
make sure you send out value in the first place, I imagine.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So with that being said, then how often, forgive me, I think I said how often should, I don't know if I asked you, how often should businesses send out email marketing communications? Did we just?
Well, we spoke about, the yoga studio once a week, most businesses once a month. And a way to do this is to measure it, start sending out, for example, once a month, and then go up to every other week and see what happens. Is the open rate going up? Is the unsubscribe rate going up? And again, the data, like at the start of our conversation, data speaks, and it will tell you whether it's working or not.
So if you have a yoga class that's like once a week, you should probably email them once a week. If you're more, let's say, a lawyer.
A lawyer once a month.
I wouldn't want to hear from a lawyer one more than once a month.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with lawyers, but again, there's no need for the lawyer to reach out to you monthly. Weekly. They should reaching out monthly. Yep.
Well, no, you mentioned restaurants. How often have you seen restaurants be successful? I could imagine a restaurant sending out a restaurant.
A little bit more frequent, maybe 2, maybe 3 times a week. A month.
A month.
Again, test it. See what happens.
Test it.
If you're starting with monthly and you go to every other week and you get more people coming into the restaurant, for example, with a coupon for the free dessert, it's telling you it's working. If you're doing that, though, and your unsubscribe rate is hitting 5%, you're sacrificing part of your email list for perhaps a short-term gain. That's why you have to look at the numbers that reporting shows and take a business decision whether you want to maintain every other week or move back to once a month.
Is there a benchmark on subscribe rate that people should pay attention to?
Yeah, it's typically 1%. So 1%. Anything north of 1% is starting to tell you that you have a little bit of a problem.
Okay.
If
That's
you're
a
in the
really good
0
tip.
point something, it's fine and typical.
It's fine. But if you start to creep above 1%, you should probably take a look at your frequency and the value of the content you're sending.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Do you find that if there's like businesses that send like weekly roundup messages, like let's say they're posting, including, but I guess they could do that on a monthly basis as well. Like if they're publishing once a week to their blog, they could include that in as part of their newsletter.
It could, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it depends on your market, your demographic, your competition. There are a lot of variables. So you're bringing up all very good points. These are all very good things to test. And my answer would be, sure, let's test it, see what happens. Maybe you test it on the whole list. Maybe you test it just on part of the list. But again, it's data that drives decisions. So until... And that's the beauty of the digital marketing part, is that you can test all of this and see what happens.
So there's this big debate in the email marketing, at least from my experience in the email marketing world, in regards to sending out HTML emails versus text-based emails. Now, I know that, they're both the same because you're sending out code that's HTML, but it looks like plain text because there's not a lot of, and when I'm referring to HTML, just for our audience, in case people are listening, they don't understand, although a lot of them will, you're sending out like HTML emails that contain graphics and images, and they look really pretty. Which one should they use, or should you use both? Is it depend on the application, the campaign?
So
what have you found in your experience?
Our guidance is to use what you're referring to, HTML email, meaning email that has graphical elements to it. So unless you're sending out something very specific about something happening this afternoon in your business, something urgent or something like that, you can use text. But the reality is that the vast majority of emails that are being sent out have some degree of promotion, and there's a branding aspect. So part of the benefit of an email program is the maintenance of the brand that you want to have appear in front of people on a regular basis. So for example, when we run a marketing program for a client, we will always design a template. The template is like the stationery that the email travels on, that completely matches their website. So whether it's their colors, their logo, we put in the email, for example, the full website menu bar. So it's very easy for people from the email to click on the various menu items on the website. And that branding is an important aspect of the business that needs to be reinforced. So for all clients, we always suggest doing that. Again, the brand, just seeing it in that preview pane will help reinforce the brand, so that when people have a need for your product or service, they will think of you.
That's awesome. Is there anything to like list segmentation to be able to divide a list into who you should send what messages to?
Yes, absolutely. So there are many different ways to segment a company's email list, and it should be driven by the business requirements. So depending on what you're offering the market, you might want to segment the list between men and women, or customers and prospects, or residential versus commercial painting, for example, or people who have purchased recently from you, or people who have not purchased from you in the past 6 months. All different ways of segmenting so that the messaging that appears in the email is relevant to them. And that is a very smart approach that you're bringing up, Matt, because it allows the email to really speak to those people. And when that happens, there is more value in it. So you get a higher response and a low unsubscribe rate. So yes, whenever we work with clients where it makes sense to segment the list based on demographics, behavior, history, frequency, recency, things like that, absolutely, we love doing that. It's a very smart approach to take when running an email campaign.
So how do you go about doing that? Do you create separate sublists, or do you add tags, or do you add tags to the to the entire to the contacts? Like if someone was interested in kitchen renovations versus bathroom renovations, you'd add a tag, or do you create separate lists entirely, sub lists?
Yes to both of your answers. You can create just separate lists. You can tag them. And also some of the automation that exists today in an account like a Constant Contact allows you to segment people based on their behavior with the emails. So for example, you can create a rule that says anybody who opens this email goes in this new list or is tagged a certain way. Or anybody who clicks on the link for the kitchen renovation ends up in this other list. So ideally what happens is you send out an email, let's say you're general contractor, and there are two articles or two pictures in the email. One is about bathroom renovation and the other one is about kitchen renovation. And if someone clicks on the bathroom renovation, their name is added to a separate list of just people interested in bathroom renovations. That list, though, is also set up to trigger what is called an autoresponder or an email nurture series that now is going to send a series of emails that are already pre-written and pre-planned to people who are interested in the bathroom renovation about bathroom renovations. So the first email is about big picture, how does it work? The email following that after a few days is about sinks and counters. The email after that is about showers and shower heads. And it's just a smart way to keep the contractor's name in front of people, demonstrating her expertise about bathroom renovations and the brand, so that as people are thinking about the branding renovation over a period of, let's say, 6 weeks, these people get half a dozen emails about the general contractor, and it's highly targeted to them because you know they were interested in the bathroom renovation.
Should these emails be long form content or shorter? And should they be long in the sense they contain all the information that the prospect needs, or should they be short emails with a call to action to drive someone to a landing page?
They should be somewhere in between. Again, it depends on the type of business. If an email takes more than 1 minute to read, it's too long. But there needs to be enough meat in there to really demonstrate, provide value to the reader. If it's too short, you just gloss over it for 5 seconds and you're done. If there's a little bit more that you can scroll through, and it's okay if people if don't read everything in the email. Remember, the goal here is just to remind people that you exist and your expertise. So just seeing the email with your branding, there's an article about shower heads. Oh yeah, I know this contractor. She's great. When I have a need to redo my shower, I'll reach out to her.
Right on. So with that being said, how do you write good subject lines? I'm assuming that, in my opinion, from my experience, if it's a dud subject line, just like a headline, it's not going to be as effective.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways? Yeah.
So there are two things that determine the open rate of an email. The first one is the from field. Who is this email from? And the second one is the subject line. And the subject line needs to answer the question, why should I open your email? So let's talk for a moment about the from field. We've all received emails from info at or sales at or support at.
Or no reply at.
Or no reply at. Now, there's a time and a place for no reply at. If it's an airline informing you of a delay of your flight, no reply is fine. It's not very elegant, but it's fine. But people like to receive emails from people. So if the email came from Matt Fraser, there's a higher chance that I open it, especially if I know Matt, right? So giving a lot of thought to the from field is important. Also, do people know your company name or do they know your personal name? Again, maybe you need to include both. So that's something to think about very carefully. The subject line also is, why should I open it? So, I sometimes, chuckle when I see an email that comes in that says, email newsletter, March 17th. I know it's an email newsletter. I know it's March 17th, but it's not telling me why I should open it. So the subject line needs to tell you what's in it. And there's a whole science behind these subject lines, the length of them, how many words, what should be at the beginning of the subject line, what should be at the end of the subject line. And especially because of mobile devices, the subject line needs to be short. And I'll give you an example. A long time ago, not us, but it's a story. There was a large department store that sent an email that had something along the lines of these are special deals you can't afford to miss. What happened, though, in many cases, because the subject line was cut off because it was on a mobile device, people saw the subject line as special deals you can't afford. And the to miss was cut off.
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, it's a funny story, but these are the type of things that we think about all the time when we create programs for our clients.
So then how many words? I mean, I could go back in my mind and write out how many words you just said, but how many words is that? So special offers.
Special deals you can't afford to miss. That's 7. It's not very long.
No, it's not at all.
Right. But you have to think about what happens if the subject line is cut off about 2/3 into it.
Yeah.
Right.
So are we talking like email subject line should be less than 5 words?
I don't want to create a very specific rule, but shorter is better.
Shorter is better.
Also creating a sense of curiosity. We've also tested emojis frequently, and those help.
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning or at the end.
I was gonna ask you that.
So part of the testing is also running A/B tests with subject lines, which is an important part of what we do when we are debating which one to use. So in the Constant Contact system, there's a tool that allows us to select, let's say, roughly 20% of a client's list. We run 2 subject lines, A and B. Whichever one has the highest open rate then is used for the remaining 80% of the list.
Oh, okay. So you'll do a test with 20% of the list first.
Yep.
And then see which one works better. And then send out the one that worked better to the remainder of the. That's pretty smart.
Yep.
That is pretty smart.
Again, data is driving the decision.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good. So you had mentioned emails coming from a person or a company. If a business wanted to send out emails from a company, what are some of the things they could use? For instance, in my mind, I'm thinking like, could the company team at the renovation team at, oursite.com, would that be a way to go if they wanted to do that?
Yes, that's a solution. It really depends on the business itself. In most small businesses, the owner is the business in a certain sense.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have the person's name and the full email address, like John Smith at ABC Company, people will see, oh, I know John Smith. He's the owner. He came to give me an estimate last time. So that's one way of doing it. If people don't know who John Smith is, and it's call it a little bit larger small business, it's okay to say, the consulting team at ABC Company or home experts at ABC Company.
Oh, okay.
Being a little creative so that it catches the person's attention and allows them to recognize who it is. And just calling, the experts, the home experts at ABC Company is a little bit of a creative way to address this concern about who is this email coming from.
Yeah, better than info, that's for sure.
Oh, yes. Certainly.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest successes you've seen, success stories you can share with email marketing?
Off the top of my head, so for example, we work with a psychologist who used to work for a school for a long time, and he went into private practice. He had virtually no business to speak of starting out, but a combination of a very effectively run Google Ads program, as well as a follow-up with email campaigns from a beautiful website. That has led him, in his words, to tell me that he's never been so happy and has earned as much money as he has because of these tools. And still today, we use them, and their main driver of a new and repeat business for him.
That's awesome.
Right. So that's just an example. We do this with, there's a law firm that we work with where similar situation, Google Ads drives people to a great website, very effective at converting leads into prospects. And then these people reach out to the attorneys and they get business that way.
Okay. Is there a specific like benchmark, like on the dollar spent, that businesses can expect a return on investment from investing in email marketing?
Yes. So every year, the Direct Marketing Association ranks marketing tools in terms of their ROI, return on investment. And for the longest time, email marketing is at the top of that list with an ROI of about $42 for each dollar invested in email marketing. So that's very high. And it goes back to the beginning of our conversation where email marketing is easy to understand. It's not an expensive marketing tool to run and brings immediate results. Investing in SEO is nice, but you're not going to get results tomorrow morning. With email marketing, you send out an email campaign now and your phone will start ringing pretty quickly. And that's where it works. There's a reason why our inboxes keep being full with emails from companies, because it works. If you see companies always using a certain marketing tool, it means it's working. So if you're not doing email marketing, you're likely leaving money on the table because it truly is an effective tool when done well. And here I'd like to comment on one thing, and that is many marketing tools appear easy to do. Oh, I'll set up a Facebook page. Oh, I'll do email marketing. But as anything else in life, it's the detail that makes a difference between something working well and something working ho-hum. So we find that a big part of clients that come to us are people who did set up a constant contact account with all the right intentions of doing email campaigns, but 2 or 3 months into it, they realize that it's taking a huge amount of time. They're spending a lot of time and getting headaches from figuring out why the font is purple, why the picture's not right. I have no idea how to write a subject line. So that's where having a professional team that does this all day long, manage an email campaign, really does bring results.
Well, that's awesome. You mentioned the email 42 at one of the highest. What was this? Do you know offhand what the second highest one was besides that one?
It's usually a combination of Google Ads, other PPC programs, SEO comes in there. TV and radio is up there as well. So the usual suspects come in. Which was the second, I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, that's fine.
But PPC programs, whether it's on Google or Bing or on social media, those tend to have pretty solid ROIs. Again, when run well. I call Google Ads the biggest way to waste a huge amount of time and money unless you know what you're doing. So Solutions for Growth is a certified partner of Google, similar to Constant Contact. It's based on results and volume and in the program. And that's where our campaigns really deliver results day in and day out, simply because the Google Ads many years ago was relatively easy to use. It has become such a complex animal to manage. You really need to know what you're doing so your money's not wasted. And the goal is really to get as many clicks as possible, but at the lowest cost per click. And finding a balance between these two is I call it the art and science of running an effective Google Ads program.
Absolutely. So how can businesses come up with ideas for sending out email marketing campaigns?
It depends on the line of business you're in. So if you're in services, for example, think about the top 5 questions that people ask you all the time. So that's 5 separate emails you can send out about. Right? If you are a retailer or restaurant, it's a little bit more promotional, a little bit more down to earth. You're offering your product. Maybe it's a special offer, things like that. But in services where you really need to present your expertise, It's a question of writing a brief article. It doesn't have to be long. And we also promote the use of repurposing content. So you might write an article, or you might shoot a video, or you might create an infographic, and that can be used on your website. It can be used in the email. That can be used on social media. So the content is seen multiple places. And for example, on social media, people have to go to see it, or on your blog, they have to go to see it. The beauty of email is that you're pushing this information out, so you're presenting it to people who may not have the intent or desire to come to your website or your social media page.
Okay. Can businesses combine email marketing? You mentioned marketing automation. Those two go hand in hand?
Yes, certainly, because the automation part is driven by the email service provider that you're using. So the autoresponder I was mentioning earlier, that's something that is set up and managed in one's Constant Contact account.
So I guess, can you sum up some of the benefits that you've seen of email marketing that relate to businesses?
Yes, the whole goal here is the staying top of mind and not out of mind, presenting your expertise, presenting your products, presenting your services. And this is pushed into people's inboxes. People look at their inbox all the time, whether it's on a computer or on their phone. It's a smart way to have a flexible and dynamic tool that reminds the market that you exist, the value that you bring to the relationship, and when properly crafted and the right calls to action and content, drives more business for you. If you're not doing email marketing, it's a huge missed opportunity, because the investment in the marketing tool is relatively low compared to other tools. It's very quick and dynamic to manage, and the results are immediate.
Are there any mistakes that should be avoided when people are doing email marketing?
The list is long. And
what are the top five?
Top five. The front field and subject line, the appearance of the email. We sometimes onboard clients who've been doing it themselves, and it sometimes looks like their emails were created by fifth grader. They have all the right intentions, but you need to present yourself professionally, because people will judge you by your marketing tools. And if your email looks like you spent only 15 minutes on it and didn't put too much care on it, it gives a sense of how good your business really is. Again, it's all perception. You might be the best dentist in town, but if your email looks sloppy, it's not exactly the message that you would want your email to present. Other mistakes is lack of contact information in the email. So often you get an email, there's no phone number or there's no address. Other mistakes are using pictures in your email that are copyrighted. You can't do that.
That you don't have a license for. Oh, wow.
You need to use images that you either own or are not copyrighted. That can cause huge headaches. I could spend a whole hour talking to you about that, but that's something to be aware of. Don't go on Google and look up, if you need a picture of a tree, don't look up a picture of a tree and put that tree in your email or your website or anything else, because chances are it's copyrighted. And because there are copyright trolls out there, they will look for that picture and you will be contacted, and they will send you some nasty messages telling you need to pay or else. So be very careful about the pictures you use in your emails.
What about using stock photos and getting licenses?
That's fine. That's fine. There's stock photography that you purchase. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
You just have to keep the record that you have the license. Is that?
Yes, that's right. You have to prove that you bought it.
Okay. Using, so many people probably just, without thinking, just Google images and then grab the image and use it without giving any thought, which is, the reason why NFTs are not, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but the reason why NFTs are becoming so valuable. You had mentioned how emails staying top of mind so that you're not out of mind. And even if they just see the subject line, but how can someone ensure that the email gets actually read? Do you just keep sending until So what is like? See, how to make sure the emails gets read? But like, is there a standard for an open rate of how successful the campaign is? Like industry benchmark? Like you'd mentioned unsubscribe rate of more than 2%, 1%. What is a benchmark for an open rate, and how can they ensure it gets, their emails get read?
So the benchmark for open rates depends on the industry. So I can tell you that certain industries, if you get a 5% open rate, you're doing great. In other industries, we get 50%. It depends on the list, on the industry. Okay. But if you're looking at averages across all industries, it's anywhere between, this is a broad range, between 15 and 25%. But again, just because you're getting an 18% open rate doesn't mean that you're doing terrible. You have to compare yourself to your industry, similar companies, similar lists, the age of the list, and so on. So there are a lot of variables that come into play with something like that. In terms of getting people to read the email, now you can't force someone to read it, but part of best practice is tell you what information to put at the top of the email so it becomes more engaging and it grabs the person at the beginning, so there's a higher likelihood that they read the content in the email.
Is there a science between the balance of sending out promotional versus informational? Do you mix it together in each email, or do you sometimes send out like one email that's very informational, maybe just the promotional is a simple call to action, and some that are more coupon driven and
it's a balance of the two. So it depends again what you're offering in the email. People don't want to be always sold to. So part of creating an effective email is what I call romancing the product or the service. So let's say you sell beds, right? A bed is a bed is a bed. But what if there were a couple of paragraphs that described this bed and why it's so much better for you? How you're gonna sleep better, or because of how it's constructed, or because of the design of the bed, how it's gonna make your bedroom look better. Again, you have to give reasons why someone should pay attention to it. Okay.
So there's a little bit of copywriting.
Oh, definitely. Certainly. You can't just put, this is a very simplistic example. You just can't put a picture of a bed with a buy now button beneath it. Yeah. There's more that goes behind that. You need testimonials and reviews and technical specifications in the example of the bed.
So someone like a small business owner or someone like starting in email marketing, you have to take into consideration that there's so many aspects that are involved in it, and skill sets, and copywriting being one of them. It's one thing for us to just open up an email in Gmail and start typing, but another thing to actually write something that gets opened. What I'm trying to say.
That's right. And something I sometimes say is that, email marketing appears easy to do, but it's hard to do it well. Yeah. And that's the difference between an email that will generate sales and emails that are ho-hum and will be deleted within 2 seconds of being opened. That's the expertise, professionalism that comes in when using an agency that specializes in this type of work.
Yeah. Are there any books you'd recommend on email marketing for people to pick up? Maybe that you've read?
If it's a book, it's probably going to be obsolete tomorrow morning. So there was an author, I don't recall his name, but the name of the book was The Inbox. And that was a book. It's a few years old already. So by now, probably some of the main concepts in the book are still valid, like some of the things that we spoke about in this conversation. But anything digital marketing changes every 5 minutes. So, there are great places to learn more about email marketing. It could be the Constant Contact blog, for example. Solutions for Growth has a blog where a big part of the articles talk about email marketing. It's really a question of staying on top of these things because they evolve all the time.
Yeah. So, David, where can people find out more about you if they want to connect with you?
They can easily learn more about Solutions for Growth by going to our website, which is solutionsforgrowthllc.com. And there is information about the business as well as contact information for us. Our phone number is 888-840-2595. And if they want to speak with me, it's extension 1.
Oh, fantastic. So I just have a few rapid fire questions for you, David. What was your first job?
I was involved in sales for a fur coat manufacturer.
Oh, right on. Where did you go on your last vacation?
The last vacation was in Portland, Oregon.
Okay. What time do you usually wake up in the morning?
Between 5:30 and 7:30, depending on what my exercise and work schedule looks like.
What is your favorite movie?
Tough question. Wow. Favorite movie is probably the. I'll come back to the question in just a moment.
Sure, no problem. What's your favorite meal of the day? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Yes.
All three?
Of course.
Right on.
The Shawshank Redemption is the movie.
Yeah, that is my favorite movie.
Superb.
By far. I think that's why it's so highly rated on IMDb. That movie's phenomenal.
It really is on so many different levels.
Oh, yeah. So, well, David, I want to thank you very much again for joining us on the show today. And I really appreciate you having here. And thanks everyone for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.
Matt, this was great. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to share this information with you. And thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.